Hey guys, welcome back to the Fried Circuit, the CHACS Full Steam Ahead podcast, hosted by Saksham Sood.
I'm Ved Prasad. Here we discuss everything related to science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So if there's a topic related to one of those, we're definitely discussing it here.
Yeah, a bit of background about CHACS Full Steam Ahead. We're a student-run organization in the Cathedral and John Connon School, Mumbai. We do projects, host competitions, and basically create a lot of content regarding STEAM, which, like Ved said, is science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. We hosted a coding competition last week where we had 260 kids from around the world participate, and it was a great success. So you can check out all of our work at cathedralfsa.com. On to the podcast now.
Hi guys, we're going to be talking about art and design today, and design specifically is something that isn't what we usually talk about. It's the least technology related and the least scientific episode.
It's not our area of
it's
expertise.
Definitely the hardest one. Yeah, it's definitely not our area of expertise. But we've researched and we are here to tell you about it. So
something we're very interested in, and 3 hours ago we texted me saying I don't know where to start, and I was like, wait, let me research, and then half an hour later I texted him saying even I don't know where to start.
It took us some time, but
it took us a while.
You don't have to research now because we've done it for you, and we're gonna share everything we've learned, and it's a lot more interesting than I thought. Like, we knew it would be an interesting topic, which is why we chose it, but we just didn't know
we learned a lot along the way.
And
definitely.
Yeah, I think that happens in a lot of episodes. But this one
specifically, most episodes we choose, we have sort of a rough idea of what we're going to talk about. Even with design, we had like a brief idea of what we had to talk about, but we didn't really know as much about them as we have before.
Yeah, we thought we knew like a decent amount, but it turns out we knew almost nothing.
We knew almost nothing, exactly. So this episode is very
we do
researched.
Now.
But yeah. Also, this perfectly ties into STEAM, which is basically STEM with art put into it, right? And that's what we're trying to do this year. Till last year, CHACS Full Steam Ahead was called Tech Society, and we used to do STEM-based things. But this year, based on our dean, Mrs. Meera Isaacs' suggestion, we've added art into it to make it STEAM. And you might think of art as this very abstract thing when people are painting and music, etc. But art is beyond that. Like design, how we said before. This focuses more on integrating art with STEM and using that to innovate, using that to push the world forward. And that's cross section of art and STEM is what basically we're going to be focusing on today. We're not talking as much about Michelangelo and Da Vinci and the Mona Lisa. We're talking more about art and design, where it comes together with STEM to drive innovation in today's world, and how it changes the world around us and influences it.
Yeah, so today's our most art-centric episode yet. Maybe the only one yet.
No. We want to do some more.
I mean, Cars had a lot of design aspect.
Cars. Actually, we talked a lot about design towards the latter half of the Cars episode. We talked about aerodynamics and how they affect real-life car performance. And this episode sort of picks up. Doesn't really pick up from there, but it's an extension of that. We talk about design in more aspects and how design influences our world. So anyway,
basically today we're taking a step back from the usual tech and science episodes, and we're just focusing solely on art and design.
Exactly.
So what is design, Saksham?
What is design? Okay. So I mean, design. That's kind of a hard question, because design is a very, very broad spectrum of things. Design could be, two completely different things depending on who you ask. And it's so hard to define because of how different it is. You have interior design, fashion design, you have product design, you have architecture. So there's a whole bunch of different fields that it applies to. That's all very hard to get a definition. But our friends over at Merriam-Webster, they never give up. They made a definition, and according to Merriam-Webster, design is design is to create, fashion, execute, or construct according to plan. Which is, it's a lot of words. It's a lot of action words in one sentence.
I feel like what they're basically, like the one thing we can basically take away from this is that design isn't simply about the appearance of a product, which is what we think about, right? Like, we think about maybe an ad campaign, we think about the design of it, we think about specifically how it looks, right? What are the colors like? What are the the shapes and the logos like? How they laid things out, how they formatted it. We think about that as the only design aspect of it. But here we're seeing, right, it's not about just like creating something that looks good. You actually have to make sure you execute it well, you construct it well,
Yeah,
and
you
that
have to create,
you fashion
fashion,
it.
execute, and
Yeah,
construct according to plan.
exactly. It has to work well too, and that's part of design, and it's just as important, if not more important, than
Then
the
the
actual
aesthetic
aesthetic
appeal.
appearance. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
exactly.
I mean, I think that's that confusion about what design is, and that misrepresentation of design in our world is the reason that people don't realize that design is incredibly important in even the even the smallest things around us. The most common things that we're so used to, like the shape of a bottle, let's say, or the shape of a
Yeah,
pencil, or a traffic light, has hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of work behind them. Thousands of designers work behind them
yeah,
in making sure it's perfect and it just works the best way that it can. And that's what design, I would
yeah,
argue, is one of the most, if not the most influential thing around us. Like even more than tech
yeah.
or science per se.
Right,
Because
because
it applies
technology is
tech
just
and
one.
science to bring it
Yeah,
together, like
exactly,
to bring it to
exactly.
life,
And
really.
technology also is like one specific field that uses design, right? But even before we have like modern technology, like the
Exactly, and,
digital
and
age,
and we're going to talk
design was
about
still
this
being used and everything.
later on as
Yeah,
well. But any tech product, from your phone to your laptop to this mic I'm using, it's all about design. It all comes down to design at the end of it. Uh,
it does.
yeah, and that's what design is like so important, and
Yeah,
that's why I want to talk about design today.
yeah.
So
That's why it's so important. Is because it's part of everything that we use. Like even the smallest thing. Like
literally
suppose
everything.
talking about a pencil or a traffic light. Any product that has been sold to you, hasn't been sold just because of its like functionality. If it was sold to you because of functionality, then they didn't really think about the design aspect of it, which isn't a good thing. But you probably also wouldn't have bought it then.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, there's a reason,
yeah,
you've gone from caveman clothes to now having shirts, t-shirts,
yeah,
suits, pants with pockets
right,
in them, cargo pants with
right,
10 pockets in them.
right.
And that's all because of design innovation. If it was only functionality, then simple caveman clothes would suffice for us
Right, you
in
have
most
like
conditions.
certain parts of your body that you want to cover up, and you just take cloth and cover it. But that's not what we're doing today. If that
Yeah.
was what we're doing, we wouldn't have design. But we do, and it's really helpful. And we're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Um,
So why is design important? Let's we already got into the topic actually, but yeah, this is our next thing. Why is design important? How does it influence us?
yeah. One thing is obviously what we just talked about is that it's used in the products that you use every day, like the service and products that you use every day. All of them have had some design thought gone into it. That's
Yeah.
obviously one thing. But if you talk about why people focus so much on design, why people um, spend so much effort and research and time and development just for design, it's again it's about a few things. One is obviously yes the appearance, how it looks. That's a huge part of any product. But it also helps it function better, right? If you design something well, you design it in such a way that you get rid of the tiny setbacks, the tiny oversights.
Yeah.
You sort of prevent the oversights from happening because you're designing it well and you're taking out all the minor problems from your product, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
and
there's
then
so many products and services that you interact with every day, and
right,
the fundamental way that you interact with them, the fundamental way they work, also, is all based on
right,
design. Design plays a big role in the interaction between products and services. And like you said, it's not all about aesthetics or looks. Although aesthetics and looks are a part of design. It's a
yeah, they're
fundamental
a major
branch of
part.
design that's
Yeah,
different, which we're gonna get into why that's important. But function and functional design, and making a product so that it doesn't fail after multiple uses or continuously does the job equally well, that is all part of design. And we might assume design to just be the shape or the feel or the finish or the materials used in the product, but even stuff like a business model or a customer experience is design. The fact that you can walk into McDonald's and order something and they have that ready and they can instantly give it to you, that way of
yeah,
working is also by design. It's also a part of design. The business model of
yeah.
a fast food chain, for example.
Yeah. Like when we say the functionality of your product, we don't just mean like a physical product, like
Yeah.
maybe selling like a bottle, something that's sold to you directly. We talk about the entire experience. Like when you go to McDonald's and the product has that functionality, that design, we're not just talking about the food itself. We're talking about the entire experience. Walking in,
Yeah.
ordering, getting
entire
food quickly,
business.
getting it at a at a relatively low price, which makes it appealing.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
of that's
Price
all
too.
part of the design. Yeah, price is a
Exactly.
big part of fast food.
We talked about this before. The subscription model or the microtransaction model in video games. That's also a
Right, the
design. That's
freemium
also
model.
by design,
Yeah,
where they make you pay for small things in the game to then make big amounts of money at the end of it. But even that would come under design. In fact, a very an Indian example actually of design serving function is the Marico industry parachute coconut oil bottle design. So basically, like a long time ago, I don't know how many years ago now, coconut oil used to be delivered across India in tin cans, right? Square tin
yeah,
cans, very basic, very, someone just hammered it together, and that used to be used to deliver coconut oil across India from place to place. The problem was that in the winter that would freeze, and you could basically not use coconut oil. Back in North India, in Delhi, and etc., it gets really cold and the oil freezes. Also,
yeah,
rats like oil, and if the thing is made of plastic, or if it's made of like cheap
tin.
plastic, or if it's made of tin, rats
Yeah,
can easily bite through that, and the oil leaks and there's a lot of wastage. So Marico, which is the company that owns the brand Parachute, when they got into
yeah,
coconut oil business and they found this problem out, they designed the modern Parachute coconut oil bottle, which is a cylindrical bottle with no edges,
yeah.
and is made of a special kind of plastic with a special kind of coating on it. What that
Yeah,
does
you've
is
probably
that in the
seen
winter
it.
it doesn't
It has
freeze.
thick blue plastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the blue plastic bottle, exactly. It's iconic at this point.
yeah,
So many ads you've seen it in across.
yeah,
Uh, and that bottle was designed specifically for this purpose because in the winter it doesn't freeze, one, and two, no rat is able to get its teeth around it.
yeah. One,
And
because it's hard, obviously, and it's thick, but also because
yeah,
they've just
it's
completely
round.
avoided sharp edges, right? And
Exactly,
it's you
exactly.
would just slip off. You could just imagine slipping off these
Yeah.
Rounded curved surfaces, and very
It
hard
also
for a rat
looks
to bite through.
much better
Yeah,
than
yeah.
than tin cans
Then a
is. It's
tin
great from a
can.
branding
Yeah,
perspective as well. And actually learned this
yeah,
from Mr. Harsh Mariwala, who had come and given a talk somewhere that I attended, and he was talking about this. And this is a prime example of design fulfilling almost all of its purposes, where it serves function and it looks aesthetically good.
yeah.
And that's the Indian example of how we've seen design change and how improve stuff.
Yeah. I also yeah, here in this example, it has the functionality and it has the aesthetic appeal. But even if you don't have your design, you're focused on functionality. Like if you have a
Yeah.
product and you want to redesign it, even if you don't really change how it functions, but you just change how it looks, that still has a major impact on the consumer experience, right? Whether or not people
Yeah.
use it, whether or not they like using it, whether or not they recommend it.
Hmm.
And this is actually the aesthetic usability effect. And so there are these two researchers at Hitachi doing. You probably know Hitachi; it's a technology company
Yeah.
in Japan. Yeah. So Hitachi, yeah, has these two researchers, Masaki Kuruso and Kaori Kashimura,
Yep.
and they basically demonstrated this effect because they made two ATMs, right, automatic
Yeah.
teller machines, where you could withdraw money, and they made them identical in every way related to functionality, right, and how you use them, how it operates, all of that, and like the buttons, the layout, the user interface, all of that. The only thing that they changed was how it looked, like its appearance from the outside. One was a plain old machine, very clunky, very like just does what you need it to. It's just plain gray, whatever. And the other one was actually they made very like beautifully designed, right? Like aesthetically at least, with the
Yeah, buttons
graphics and
were
how it
arranged
looked from the
properly.
outside.
They had
Yeah,
like
everything.
certain,
Yeah,
way of
they still
moving
function the
around
same
it.
way. They still function the same way. Like
Yeah.
the amount of time it would take would be the same, or it has the same steps in giving you your money. All of that. The only thing that changed was
The aesthetic.
the appearance, and obviously people use the one that looked better more, and like that makes sense, right? Like
Yeah.
you see two things that work the same way, you would tend to go for the one that looks better because it's just more appealing to your eyes, right? Before you actually touch it, before you use it, before you think about how it works while using it, the first sense that interacts with it will probably be your eyes. It could be like smell, it could be hearing, but here it's sight, right? It's
Yeah.
vision. And when you see something that looks appealing, you will tend to go for that thing first, as
Yeah, that
opposed to
experiment was incredibly influential in making the aesthetic usability effect, or improving the
yeah,
aesthetic usability effect, in fact, so influential that, like with any experiment or with any hypothesis, there were a lot of doubters. So an Israeli scientist called Noam Traktinsky, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, also conducted the same experiment in Israel, and it was also confirmed over there, where it almost proved for sure that in human nature, if you had two options between things and one looked beautiful and one wasn't as aesthetically pleasing, you would go for the more beautiful one. And of course, everyone has harnessed this to make sure that whatever product you have, whatever you're designing, whatever you're making, looks good. It has to look good. It can't look bad. And I think, you know what, just let's do a quick activity, like a virtual activity across the podcast. Everyone is watching right now, wherever you're watching. If you're listening on Spotify or Anchor, or if you're watching on YouTube, look at the current YouTube site, youtube.com, right? Go to youtube.com, look at the current site layout and the buttons and everything, and then use the Wayback Machine to go and see YouTube, let's say 10 years ago. Right? And you'll realize that...
I'm saying, if you don't know the Wayback Machine, is it basically sort of functions as an internet archive. So if you want to see what YouTube or any site looked like maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you can check that out. So just Google the Wayback Machine, click on the first or the second link, either one, and it'll basically prompt you to enter the name of a site or the URL if you have it. So you can type in youtube.com, that should be enough. And then it'll let you select a year and then select a particular date on that year from where they have snapshots of that site, and you can just compare to whatever it looks like today.
Exactly. So do that, and even though the functionality of both YouTubes will be exactly the same, they'll both play back video to you, you'll see that there's a very, very big aesthetic difference between the two. Right? And almost guaranteed you would choose modern YouTube over old YouTube. Because just the design has improved so much over time that it would be almost unnerving to use a 10-year-old YouTube design, even though it showed you the same videos in the same way, the same play, pause, skip ahead, skip back thing. So that's like a quick fun experiment to see whether aesthetics play a role in your choice or not.
And that's if you focus only on the functionality. Like, obviously YouTube has added new features over the years and all that, but even if you look at just the functionality that you were offered back then in terms of just playing the video, maybe subscribing, all of that, everything looks so much better now that I don't think anyone would actually maybe even look at the old one, except for like nostalgia purposes.
Nostalgia vibes.
Because the new one is so much better.
Go through the years, like go from the first snapshot of YouTube the Wayback Machine has and go all the way till today, and you'll see the progression, and you'll see how YouTube style has changed over time. In fact, I remember when I started watching YouTube to what it is now, this is a big stylistic change in it. You used to have like blue links before, and you don't have blue links anymore on YouTube.
I remember
that. I remember blue links.
When you're clicking on a video, it had the classic hyperlink look.
Exactly.
And you can look at you can look at it gradually, right, on the Wayback Machine, because I think first you select a year, and then it gives you a set of months, and it gives you the dates on each month from where they have screenshots. So you can select those ones. So you can just check out maybe one snapshot from like every month or every 3 months at a time, and just look at the tiny gradual changes that YouTube has made, and you'll see how in the end over these many years it adds up to what we have now. But it didn't happen all one shot. Like, they started the design process happened over years, right? Just continuously. It just didn't stop.
Innovation.
They continued working on the design, continue to make these small improvements to functionality and to the aesthetic appeal, and then now we have the YouTube that we have today. And it's going to keep improving. I'm sure YouTube 5 years now is going to look vastly different.
Very different from what it is now, 100%. It's going to be more intuitive. I think that's what they're going towards now. Where the website already knows what you want before you even click on it. But anyway, that's that's for another day. This actually brings to mind a quote from Joe Sperano, who said that good design is obvious, but great design is transparent. Great, very, very well designed things are things you won't even notice, are things that just blend into your surroundings, that you don't even notice the fact that they've been designed that well. That's how functional, that's how seamless they are, that they don't stick out at all.
I feel like anyone who's worked on making something has a lot of experience this, right? Like, whether you're I don't know, editing video. Making a video.
Yeah.
Editing some form of like, I don't know, a flyer, so any form of graphic design. Anyone who's done any of that has probably noticed this because, for example, if you try to make a video, right? You try to make I don't know, like a promotional video. You try to make a commercial or something like that.
Yeah.
It's only once you start making it that you actually notice a lot of the features in design, because you start making it, you try putting something together, and you realize this isn't aesthetically appealing at all.
Yeah.
This is very clunky, it looks terrible.
I know
And
what you mean.
then you go on, I don't know, maybe YouTube or somewhere, and you try to watch promotional videos, and you notice the little features they put in, the little transitions, how for like titles and things, it's not they don't just have text, they have like all these shapes and colors swirling and like changing a lot of special effects included. And you realize that these tiny details that maybe in a 30-second ad, right? A lot of the consumers don't actually like pay attention to it.
Yeah,
No one
30
actually goes,
seconds. You really don't care.
no one actually goes like, I love the way the text came onto the screen. No one actually says that.
I love that flip box transition. I love the way
exactly,
he put his hand in the video change.
if it wasn't there, people would definitely notice. Like if it wasn't there, people would think, okay, this is just a badly made video.
If your video looked like a PPT where like text came and went from like a slide, slide change, people won't like that. But it's a very conscious decision. Every single camera shake or every single flip in an ad or every single transition is very, very explicitly thought out with extreme precision, and that's what creates good design.
So if at the end of the day you watch an ad and you don't go, that was a terribly made ad, instead you go, you know what, it was okay, it was an ad, it's done, but you don't notice anything wrong with it, that's successful design, because you shouldn't be able to see what they're doing behind the scenes.
Design also, like almost design, I would say, is a part of art almost in a way. It's a sub branch of art, and in that sense design also has certain trends that come and go. For example, you might have heard of the term industrial design, which started off in the early 20th century with the industrial revolution kicking off and manufacturing and everything happening, and it was pretty cool back then. And then somewhere like in the 90s and early 2000s, you start having a more softer appeal, more colors, more bright color. 80s also actually, more bright colors, softer shapes. If you look at Apple's first Mac, or the first like iMac, it's a nice rounded shape with like cool plastics, and it's very soft, non-obtrusive design, and that was the design language back then. But now, today, we see, again, we're going back to the industrial design. So the Nothing ear ones that launched, I think, a couple of weeks back, the earbuds, those are very industrial design. You can see through the casing, you can see all the components working. Apple, again, these days, very industrial design. Like the MacBook is basically a big metal slab with like stuff carved out in it. Same with the iPhone, same with most phones these days. It's very, very industrial design, very like one block of glass or one block of aluminium, and stuff made from that. So you see these trends that come and go.
They don't have to overdo the design nowadays. They're taking it back full circle.
And this brings us to design theory. No matter how random design might feel, it's a very scientific field. It has a theory. What's design theory?
I think this is one of the most important parts of this episode, because anyone who's ever tried to design anything has probably just gone off of like of course, sure, if you're a professional and you've studied this, that's different. But I'm saying if you otherwise, you've probably just gone off like vibes and aesthetics, right? You've tried something, maybe had an idea that you thought would look good, and if it looks good, you take it and move on.
But anyone who wants to like design something, or I won't say anyone, because again, the whole point of art and design is to break boundaries and break the rules and not follow them. But to anyone who's wondering, okay, fine, if great design is so good that I won't even notice it, then how do you know that it exists, right? This is how you know. Pay attention to these small cues around you in everything, and you'll be able to understand why it was made in that way. Why does that shape exist? Why is it that color and not the other color? All that is design theory, and these principles, design theory, more than being like a set of rules that you have to follow, it's more of a convention, or more of what you would see usually in design. So overall trends and guidelines that most people tend to stick by. So there are basically five
design theory principles. Five principles in design theory. Those are alignment, repetition, contrast, hierarchy, and balance. All right, and we'll get into
Yeah.
each one of these. Right, we'll get into them individually. But just again, alignment, repetition, contrast, hierarchy, balance. Saksham, what's
Yeah.
alignment?
Okay. Alignment basically is so we as human beings like order. Okay, we like things to be a certain way. That's why we prefer to arrange our things around. We even when we're trying to remember stuff in memory, we tend to put it in an organized fashion. Order is
Yeah.
pleasing to the eye, is soothing. So alignment, nothing but that. Alignment is simply aligning elements of the design together in either in groups or putting them in a way that aesthetically pleases our eyes. It creates connections. Right.
Okay.
So if you see like two things next to each other, you brain automatically sort of looks at one, looks at the other, and tries to establish some sort of connection between them. So in alignment, you would have them aligned a certain way. So your brain was able to
Right.
create a connection between the two, and it also was more comfortable to your eyes and your brain to understand and comprehend.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, that
Then
makes
we
a lot of
have
sense.
repetition.
Yeah. Yeah, no, in repetition, it's basically there are certain elements. Like obviously, you can't make every like if you're a certain brand, if you're a company, you can't make every single product the same. You can't make every single service the same. But there are certain like elements that you want to repeat just because it's a staple of a brand, right? And it gives consumers a
It's
sense
part of the
of
brand's identity.
association and
Yeah.
familiarity, right? Gives them a sense of okay, this feature is just part of this brand. Then that thing sort of becomes iconic, right? So, for
Yeah.
example, McDonald's, right? You have the classic red and yellow
Red and
combo.
yellow. Yeah. Spotify, green and
Yeah,
black.
yeah. So,
Uh,
like, suppose you weren't
mhm.
wearing your glasses and you're looking at, I don't know, a billboard that was
Mhm.
maybe 500 meters away, right? But you see that the billboard is mainly red and has maybe some yellow in the top
Mhm.
right corner, has some yellow in the middle. You will automatically know that that is a McDonald's
That's McDonald's. Yeah.
advertisement,
And
just
that's
because of the
repetition
repetition, right?
of the
Because you in
elements
your
again and
mind
again.
you associate that color combination with
Mhm.
McDonald's. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's like even logos, right? Like
Mhm.
Nike with the swoosh.
Yeah.
It's I mean if you look at it, it's just a simple tick, right? That's all it
Mhm.
is. But when you see a tick and you see it shaped like that, the only thing you're going to think of is Nike, even though a tick is such a common symbol like in our lives.
Yeah, I think with Adidas as well, you see this more through their products. So Adidas are basically three stripes, right? But like it's in a certain shape. But even when it's not in a
Right.
certain shape, you see in their shorts and their track pants and their jackets, they always have three stripes along the side, like running
Yeah.
along the entire
I,
thing.
I, I think I think it's a bit more subtle with Adidas when you compare to
Yeah,
Nike. Because
exactly,
like
exactly.
with Nike, like the swoosh
Mhm.
is their logo. So you see the tech, you're seeing them put their logo
You see
on the
that's
shirt or
Nike.
logo, whatever.
Mhm.
If you see with Adidas, right? Like even if you're wearing a pair of like tracks, right? And it
Mhm.
doesn't have the Adidas logo, just the fact that you have those three lines on the
Those
side,
stripes along the side, yeah.
yeah,
You
you
know
already
it's
know those
Adidas.
are Adidas. Yeah,
Yeah,
even though you actually haven't really seen the actual logo anywhere.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, there's certain very characteristic shapes, colors, fonts maybe. Uh,
Yeah.
what's a characteristic font? Like which
Classic
company
font.
has a font that is very very
I think
specific to them?
I think with fonts, it's not. I think it's more about a type of font. Like you associate a certain type of font with
Hmm.
maybe not even certain company. It could be with like a certain like industry. Like for example, if you notice this right with
Yeah.
magazines,
Oh
it
yeah.
doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't
Hmm.
matter what like what genre of magazine that is.
They
Most
all have
magazines
the
that you see,
same
whether it's fashion,
cover
it's
font.
cooking, it's
Yeah.
cars, whatever it is, the cover font,
Hmm.
the one on the top, it's very specific. Like I was working on something
Yeah.
recently,
And a lot of
and
magazines. Yeah.
yeah, I downloaded this font. I think it's called Bodoni. It's Bodoni,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I've heard of
I
it.
think it's a font that Vogue uses. And I looked at it and
Hmm.
I thought, okay, yes, this is a Vogue font, but it's also like you could put this on any magazine ever, and I would just
Yeah.
accept that because it's just something that's so common, you know? Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, yeah, and these are that's repetition basically. Repeating those elements across multiple different things that creates a brand association identity, and that helps people follow
yeah,
and keep in line with whatever's happening. Next, we
right,
have contrast.
yeah.
What's contrast with? It's another color thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
contrast more against the color thing, and it's basically it's something that
Mm-hmm.
most people know. It's common sense, but it's just good to talk about. You need to
Mm-hmm.
have a good amount of contrast between any two elements in your
Yeah.
product, your service, especially if they're like interacting directly, right?
Hmm.
So if I'm making a flyer, for example, and black and white is the biggest contrast there is. So if I have a
Yeah.
flyer and the background is black, I need a light color. I need something like white on it. Otherwise, it just won't stand out, right? Worst case, it
Exactly.
won't stand out. Like maybe something slightly duller, like maybe like a dull orange or something. Then it might not stand out. I'm sorry. Best case, it won't stand out. Worst case, you won't be able to read it at all. Because imagine you have a black background, and you put, I don't know, maybe like dark blue text on it or like dark purple
Yeah.
text on
Yeah.
it.
Won't work.
No one's gonna be able to read it, especially if they're standing like far away, like it's on a billboard or somewhere, right? That's why you need to make sure there's a good amount of contrast between two things. Like again, with McDonald's, right? It's not as the contrast isn't as big as black and white because that is
Yeah.
the
But red
biggest
and
contrast
yellow.
there is. But you still have the darker red and the really like bright
The
yellow,
bright
and
yellow.
it's always legible. Any yellow text you put on that red background is always going to
Hmm.
be legible, and that's why contrast is just super important in all
Yeah.
aspects of design.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This brings us to hierarchy, which
yeah.
you know
What's
I would
hierarchy,
argue
Saksham?
is everywhere. Like it's
Yeah,
one of I think it's one of the most important. Actually, all five of these. Sorry, all five of these are very important principles. But hierarchy is
right.
like one of the key ones. That is one of the more subtle ones actually that you won't really notice unless you're looking for it.
Yeah,
So the way hierarchy works is that, again, because of our brains' incessant need to always organize stuff, hierarchy is there to create like levels essentially. To anything that you see that's designed, there's levels to it. There's different elements serving different purposes, and they all do their part individually to make the complete thing work. Okay, so the way hierarchy works is that you want to design your product or whatever it is to the product's hierarchy to have three different functions in that same order. It's to attract, to intrigue, and then to inform. Okay, and I'm gonna go through each one of them one by one.
okay.
Attract is the main big thing which is gonna get the person to look at the ad or the post or the product, right? Then there's intrigue, which is the second element which is gonna make them want to stay and read or stay and look at it or stay and experience it. And then the info or the message is actually the
Yeah,
what you want to tell them, what you want to actually show them or make them
right.
experience. um, and all three of these elements you see across everywhere. You see them in posters, in flyers, you see them in product design,
Yeah,
you see them in ads, you see them everywhere,
yeah,
right? And I'll give you a quick example of this. Again, we come back to YouTube. If you're listening to this on Spotify or if you're watching on YouTube, then just go to YouTube and or look at this video itself, right? You have a thumbnail which is super colorful, I hope. Super colorful
yeah,
and attractive, and it brings people in. You see a cool thumbnail with cool tech stuff, me and Ved standing there. You want to
yeah.
click on the video that attracts you, right?
Right.
Then you have the title. So YouTube, the land of the clickbait, you have the most intriguing titles ever, and there are often
Yeah.
questions where it's like, will we succeed, will we fail, trying this out for the first time, how's that gonna work,
Make
right?
$10 million in a day.
Making $10 in a day, question mark. And these intrigue you, so you look at the thumbnail, which caught your attention, you're like, okay, wow, this seems interesting. Then you see the
Yeah,
title, which intrigues you, and like, oh, okay, I might want to know more about this, and you click on it. And
yeah.
the video itself is the content and the information that I want to give to you, right?
Right.
And you see this everywhere. Magazines where pictures are there with a caption
Yeah.
and a write up underneath it. You see this in posters. You see this everywhere where hierarchy of design is always followed, no matter what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's so subtle you wouldn't notice it's
You see it in
happening.
like smaller places too. Like it's not just about in businesses or in like actual like
Yeah.
your profitable ventures. Even like something like your Instagram story, right? Suppose you want to call attention to something. Maybe something you came up with, maybe something you want to share with people. You'll post on your story. You'll
Yeah.
do like this large caption, something that really like people really pay attention to, something catches people's interest, right? That's the attract part of it. So you're attracting them, and then they actually start reading about it. They start reading about the event or like whatever you started or whatever the venture
Yeah.
is. They start reading, and then like that's the intrigue. And then once they start reading, once they actually get to the message, you have what you got them there for, right? Whatever you want. Maybe you want them to know about it. Maybe you want them to donate to something. Maybe you want them to take some sort of action, like subscribe, do something like that. Again, the message is there, but first, like in order to get them to the message, in order to get them where you want them to be, where
Yeah.
to get them to do what you want them to do, then you need to actually attract and intrigue them first. That's why hierarchy is super important.
Yeah. and that's why you have these levels in
And it's a
every
lot more
ad. In
subtle
fact,
than it's a lot more subtle than areas like contrast or
yeah, yeah.
like alignment.
Uh, yeah, I mean, go around, look at some ads and see, and try to place, each element and see where the hierarchy is in the ad. In fact, I think the iconic iPod, also the first iPod that came out with the boxy one with a small screen on it. That
Yeah,
iPod ad is a perfect example of it. It's got a white background,
yeah,
with a a gray AirPod, a gray iPod on it, which is contrast.
yeah,
Then you have the iPod itself, which is this curious piece of tech that no one's ever seen before. It's got a screen with some buttons on it. What's going on? That attracts you. You look at the screen, you're like, okay, wow, that's something cool. Then it says, the big tagline, iPod, and you're like, oh, what's an iPod? And then it says
yeah,
65 million songs on your wrist, which is not wrist, sorry, 65 million songs on your in your pocket. And then you're
right,
like, oh wow, okay, so that's what it does. And
yeah,
Apple is the king of design and marketing in that sense. We're going to get to that in a bit as well. But Apple does
yeah,
this really, really well. And every Apple ad you'll see, or every Apple poster you'll see, will follow the design principles almost to the T.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Anyway.
right, and yeah, we are going to get into that because there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
we have to discuss. Because I mean, unless we give you guys examples and real-world applications of how these principles are used, you might not fully understand it. So we're going to give
Yeah,
you
it's a
a lot
very,
later, and more than
I
just
won't say
examples, it's
vague. It's a
also
very, theoretical. Like, we're talking about very
yeah,
theoretical right now, and it doesn't make a lot of sense
yeah,
unless you can visualize
yeah,
how it's used in the real world,
yeah.
because
And
it's
once
not
you
very
visualize how
intuitive.
yeah, and once you
Yeah.
visualize how it's used, like once we tell you exactly how people use it, how like institutions,
Hmm.
like companies use it, you'll see how effective it is because these are things that again designs everywhere. It's in your
Yeah.
day-to-day life. These are things that you will have experienced. So it's relatable content here, right? So
Yeah,
like
and
we'll be telling you
designers
about it, and
think.
you'll go thinking
Hmm.
this is actually what they're doing. I've just never realized it until now. So we'll get to
Yeah,
that in a bit.
yeah. The way designers look at products or look at the world or anything they're working on is fundamentally very, very different from what you would look at something as. When you're buying, I don't know, a new phone, the factors that you're considering to buy the phone are vastly different from the person who designed the phone in the first place. He had a
Yeah,
completely different outlook on why he chose certain things. He or she chose certain things.
yeah,
Uh, and we're trying to like take a dive into that perspective. We're trying to take a dive into how designers work and why they do what they do.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, this brings us to our last design principle, which is balance. What's
Yeah.
balance, Ved?
Oh, I almost forgot we didn't do bands. I already covered all
Yeah,
five
I know.
principles. I was ready
We're
to
stuck
move on
on
to the next
hierarchy for so
topic.
long. Yeah.
Yeah, I was ready to move on to the next topic. I forgot we had balance.
Yeah.
Okay, balance is a pretty simple concept, especially since we just did hierarchy, which is the most complex out of them all.
Yeah.
Balance is basically you don't want things to be too like one-sided. You want everything to be distributed evenly in a way that's like aesthetically appealing and also just works, right? For again, same example. Like I think graphic design and flyers are great examples for all of these because it's just so design centric. So the balance, right? You wouldn't want your flyer to have everything on like one side. Like imagine you have a flyer, but
Yeah.
you have the title on top in the center. That's cool. But then all your text is just towards the left, and the right is entirely just blank.
Yeah.
That doesn't
It
look
doesn't
good
look
at
weird.
all. That doesn't look appealing. You got to put something there, right? Maybe you put a chunk of text and you put like a picture to accompany it. Maybe you put like the logo of your organization on the right. Maybe you put like contact details. But you need to be balanced. You need to put enough like information and enough important content on like two different sides on like all different areas of your product. Otherwise, it just won't be appealing. It's huge part of
Yeah.
design. I think it's something people overlook a lot.
Balance gives it structure. It makes
Yeah,
people look at it and feel comfortable with the way it's working.
yeah,
uh, and that's what balance does.
yeah,
Further, like I've already covered this to some extent, but in these five different principles, you have stuff like color, font, size, icons, pictures, a lot of that
yeah,
stuff, and these further in them have conventions and principles that you would typically use. Certain colors are used to convey certain moods, certain icons are
yeah,
used with certain icons of certain colors. Notifications, for
yeah,
example, the notification bubble on your phone, always red, because that gets your attention. uh,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, we really can't get into that because that's a whole like course on design almost. where we're getting into very, very small things. But yeah, you can definitely check that out and look at how colors and fonts are used in design to fulfill a specific purpose.
Like an easy way for like even like small example again, right? How like you can make small changes. Instead of like if you randomly pick colors, suppose you're making a presentation, and maybe on different slides you want different titles. Maybe in the same slide there are like two different things, and you need to use 2 or 3 different colors. You could pick random colors, but that might not be aesthetically appealing. You might pick something that just 2 colors that don't work
might
together.
not fit the vibe.
Right. You could make a small change by actually going on the net, right, and finding sites that give you color palette. I've actually used one. I think it's called
color palettes.
I think there's one called mycolor.space, and what you can basically do here is you can go ahead and enter a hex code for the color that the primary color you're using, and it gives you like several different palettes of like different colors that work with that one color. And like again, it's like small changes like these, right? So these small small details that you need to pay attention to that actually transform a product, and it doesn't always have to be a major change. It can just be small things like these that
very,
like
very small
completely change
changes here
it.
and there.
That design's like super effective.
Yeah, I mean PPT, for example, presentation like you were talking about, is only effective if people pay attention to it, or if people want to look at it and actually consume the information in it. You might have the best PPT with the best information and revolutionary ideas, but if nobody's looking at it or listening to it or watching it, it's a problem. And you can fix some of those things by changing the fonts and the colors around, following these design principles like we've said, and that would ensure that your PPT is more effective in communicating its ideas across. And all your great ideas can then be heard by people, be understood by people, and that is what you want in the end with the presentation. And it's very, very small, almost subconscious changes. Like we go back to the code again, where great design is transparent. You don't notice great design happening. It's more subconscious. It's tricking your brain into better focusing and analyzing information. So under design now, we come to a very exciting field, which personally I'm a huge fan of. Is called design thinking. Okay, you might have heard this term thrown around a lot. It's like AI, big buzzword for the internet to sell stuff on. It's called design thinking. Design thinking webinar, design thinking workshop, design thinking this, that. It's a whole thing. But yeah, design thinking. What's design thinking, Ved? This actually is exactly what STEAM is about. Design thinking. It's what we want to get at.
You can't have the science and technology and all of that without talking about design, because all of it
exactly this is the base of where design and tech come together, design STEM come together to form STEAM. But yeah, Ved, what's design thinking?
Design thinking is sort of like approach or this theory that helps with like innovation, right? It helps you think about how the design of a certain product, how the way you design things will affect how innovative your product or service is, right? And
it's more user-centric. How it affects the user.
And it's basically focused on like understanding your customers' needs and prototyping things rapidly and focusing on like the creative aspect of your ideas of your product, right? And you focus on these things, and it'll help you develop your product, services, processes, organizations. It'll help you make everything better by just focusing on this. And basically, like put it in a sort of concise way, focusing on your customers' needs, rapid prototyping, and creative ideas. This is design thinking.
That's according to IDEOU. It's their definition on how they put design thinking. In a more, I don't know, in a simpler term, if it's simpler, I guess, I don't know. Design thinking is a new form of innovation. It's a different form of innovation that is that people have been doing for a very long time unconsciously, but only recently people have put a name to it and have delved into it and researched it to a point where it's become a field now. But it's a different form of innovating that takes into account the user's needs. It's a very entrepreneurship centric thing, if that makes sense. Where it's basically the intersection of desirability, feasibility, and viability, which again is according to IDEOU, where it's design thinking is where all these three things intersect, right? And these are big words. What do they mean? Desirability is what people want. It's what makes sense for people. It's what me would want for a problem, or in our lives what we would desire for it to happen. It could be flying cars.
What would you want, right?
There
right?
could be no
Customer's point of view.
walking.
What would the customer
Yeah,
be interested in? That's what desirability basically is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, then we have feasibility, which is what's technologically possible. Like, can you actually make it happen? Flying cars, for example, a little bit iffy, but
Yeah.
other stuff, yes, you can make it happen.
Electric cars,
So,
that was more realistic, and now it's here,
and
right? So
now it's a reality.
you gotta
Yes.
find that perfect
Uh,
balance.
yeah. So that's feasibility, and then lastly, and equally important, is viability, which is this sustainable? Can this be scaled? Can this continue for years and years and years? Is this something that's gonna go ahead? It's gonna grow and it's gonna become bigger. And where desirability, feasibility, and viability come together is where design thinking happens. You want to create something that's desirable, viable, and feasible. And it
Yeah.
seems pretty complex. It seems like it's a bit much, but for
Yeah.
that they
But
actually have a framework and they have steps that you do when design thinking.
yeah.
What are the
Again,
steps, Ved?
this is all from IDEOU. Like, shout out to them.
Yeah,
They've
yeah.
given us all this information. But yeah,
Yeah, we've
they
taken a lot from
basically,
them. Yeah,
yeah, we just our information.
our explanation
Um,
of it. Yeah.
yeah, no, but they basically made it a 5-step process. So you like you can break it down to like a simple process that you can use when you're designing your next thing. And the 5 keywords are emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And they're all part of phrases, which makes it even more clear. So you need to emphasize with your users, right? You need to again see what your customer is interested in. What do they want? What changes do they want you to make to your product? All that.
Yeah,
You need to
it's
think.
about
You put yourself,
recognizing.
yeah. You put
Uh,
yourself in the customer's shoes and think how they would think, right? That's emphasizing with your users. Then you need to
yeah.
define your users' needs and their problems and your insights. Again, like once you've thought how you thought about like what the customer might think about a certain product, then you have to like actually like put it down. You need to look at what changes they want you'd want to make based on your customer's needs, right? You
Yeah.
need to look at okay, the customer liked this aspect, they didn't like this aspect. How would we change our product in such a way
You
that
want to very specifically put it down into
yeah,
words. What you've recognized, you want to, be
yeah,
able to express that and be able to
right,
define that almost. That's step 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to ideate, right, by challenging assumptions and creating ideas for like solutions,
Yeah, it's about
right?
thinking out of the box. That's why design thinking is called design thinking. Is because you think of creative solutions that are not the most conventional ideas. It's something new, something fresh.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and obviously it's related to the first 2 points. It's about the user and about helping them with their problem. The point that you just identified and you wrote down and you defined, you want to
yeah,
ideate for that. Um, yeah. Then we have
yeah,
prototyping, which is which like I said before is rapid prototyping, I would say, where you instantly start getting to actually create these solutions after your ideation. You want to bring them to life instantly and have it ready and get into making it. And the last one, which is very important again, is testing, where the prototypes that you make, you put them through rigorous
yeah.
testing. You make
You
sure
gotta
they
make
work
sure.
exactly how you want it. You
Yeah,
you know get them tested through and through and make sure that's a viable option.
yeah. Because that's one of the main things actually with design. Because when you're designing something according to customer feedback, right? You're
Yeah.
changing things in a way. You're taking something that it didn't work perfectly, obviously, since the customer had a problem with it. But you're taking something that kind of worked, and you're changing things. You're taking old stuff out, putting new stuff in. But you have to make sure that while you're taking old stuff out, like stuff that worked, you're putting new stuff in, stuff that you haven't tested yet. You need to make sure that those things actually don't backfire, right? And don't make the
Exactly.
product even worse than before. So testing is a huge
Yeah.
part of it. You can't just assume all your changes are good and then send it out to the world completely untested. You need to make sure
Just
it
thinking of new
works
ideas
really
and
well.
making solutions isn't enough. You have to
Yeah,
test it and make sure that it actually works.
yeah. Because something that
I,
might seem good on paper might not actually work really well once you actually release it, right?
yeah,
So you
and
need to
this
test everything.
shift and this popularity in design thinking is really important because it's been incredibly successful in innovation. In fact, industry leaders, companies swear by design thinking, and this new kind of innovation is required in the world to move us forward. And PepsiCo has used it, IBM has used it, Bank of America has used it, Brown, the personal grooming company, has used it. It's a whole bunch of companies that have used it, and it's worked really, really well for them.
Yeah. It's actually this quote from the CEO of PepsiCo, and her name is Indra Nooyi, and she have implemented design thinking in her company, and she said every time I try to talk about design within the company, people would refer to packaging, right? Like, should we go to a different blue? This is what we're talking about, right? It's not just
Yeah,
about the
it's
aesthetic
not
appeal.
about aesthetics.
People assume it's just about like how it looks, and like you just change the way something looks, make it look better. The problem's fixed, but that's not true, because she goes on to say it was like putting lipstick on a pig, as opposed to redesigning the pig itself.
Yeah.
I realized we need to bring a designer into the company, and yeah, that makes sense, right?
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Like if I have a phone, and it's terribly inefficient. Okay, if I have a car, I think if you're talking about inefficiency, vehicles are the best. If I have a car and it's terribly inefficient, it uses an insane amount of fuel just to go like 1 kilometer, making it like work better and look better aerodynamically, or like maybe making the car
Make it
sleeker.
look better, yeah. With the
Yeah,
curves
just so
and
it looks
put
more like
paint
the
on it or
classic
whatever.
sports car. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not going to fix your problem, because it's still guzzling fuel at a rate that no customer wants. So you need to go deeper than just the surface. You can't just change the way things look and think, okay,
And,
it looks nice, it works.
It's actually a very interesting example, because now, to contradict you, Ved, this is where aesthetic usability again comes in, because the Lamborghini Countach, for example, or any Lamborghini, or the DeLorean, the GMC DeLorean, these are all very, very beautiful cars that have terrible efficiency and mileage, but because they're that beautiful.
But that's like luxury cars, right? Like I'm talking about more like general day-to-day cars that like your average citizen would use.
You're definitely right about it. Yes, like definitely, you want efficiency, and you want your car to go the longest distance on 1 liter of petrol. But there is a point in the scale where you go so beyond towards aesthetics or towards performance. In the case of like a race car or a super high-end sports car, that efficiency ceases to matter anymore. No one really cares about the efficiency.
I mean, like if your functionality is 0, you can't bring your aesthetic appeal just up to like 100 and expect it to work. You got to take it like 500 then, at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But
at some point you will compensate.
Thing,
like,
it's
you
got to see what you want. But yeah, definitely. I love Indra Nooyi's example of putting lipstick on a pig and redesigning the pig itself. But yeah, that's design thinking, which honestly I think is some of the most exciting stuff that's happening
this is
in
all
the field of design right now.
Yeah, this is all the theoretical aspects done. This is all the vague like terms and just concepts that we spat out at you. All of that is done. I think it made sense. I think a lot of this makes sense, but I feel like with most things, to actually visualize it, to actually realize how it works, we need examples, we need case studies.
Let's talk about some big design things.
We have some really interesting ones lined up. Not really relatable ones. Again, I told you, like you're gonna look at these and you're gonna be like, oh wait,
we're gonna bust some myths over here now. We're gonna expose the underlying secrets of the world and why stuff happens, and now you're gonna know why certain things happen, why certain things don't.
I'm actually gonna start with everyone's favorite or least favorite company, depending on what side you're on. Apple. Tell us about Apple.
Apple, the tech giant, $2 billion company, Steve Jobs, Apple. Apple's big focus has always been design. Like I would say, since the beginning, the reason Apple differentiated itself from other companies is a big part of that has been design. And
I think Steve Jobs himself said that design is the thing they focus on the most at Apple.
Exactly. Did he say that? Wow. Okay, I did not know that. Really? Wow. That's a quote. Yeah, Steve Jobs. Also, a very big fundamental thing that Steve Jobs again said was about the user experience. He said, I want to make the best product for the user to experience, user to use. Actually, Apple painstakingly spends billions and billions in R&D just to make that user experience that much more seamless.
But then they make like 100 times more than that back, and now they're $1 trillion company, which again just goes to show how important design is.
Yeah, how important design is, exactly. $1,000 stand which got memed, I think it was a couple of years ago, for the big Apple display, is very expensive, yes, extraordinarily expensive, ridiculously expensive, yes, I get all that. But it's also an engineering marvel. It's also very cool because you can move the entire display, spin it, turn it, do whatever you want with one finger. You can just touch it and it like almost intuitively moves around, right? And
That's just
Apple
futuristic at that point.
yeah, it's almost like magic. It's like it's
Yeah.
like it knows what you're gonna do with your hands.
Yeah.
But just engineering that small joint must have taken, I don't know, thousands of man hours across the entire company and billions in R&D. But Apple does that, so you can do that with one finger. And it's
Yeah.
like, it works like that. Even all Apple MacBooks from like the beginning have all been openable with one finger. Like if you rest the laptop down and you use one finger to open it, it will open. And that again was a very
That's
conscious
actually
choice from Apple.
that's actually a major thing that you actually will realize if you go from a MacBook to
A
another
Windows
laptop.
laptop.
Right? No,
Yeah.
yeah, because I was using a MacBook Air earlier, right?
Mhm.
And obviously super lightweight, super. I think it was an older edition, obviously. It was like I think the 2015 one.
Yeah.
But it was super thin, super like lightweight, right? I think I don't remember, but I think it was 0.6 kg. I don't remember.
It's very, very
I think
small, yeah.
it's very very light, right? And like I'd have it in front of me, and obviously you have that little groove that where you like open it from, right? The little cutout. I just put my thumb there and I just raise my thumb and it
Yeah, despite it being
just-
so light, like the keyboard would never come up with it. It will always go up in one
exactly
sweep motion with
exactly
one finger.
that's
like
the thing because the keyboard right, just the entire lower half of the laptop stays like firmly planted on your table or like
Yeah.
your bed or wherever it is. It's just the lid, just the screen that'll move up. And now I have another laptop. I'm using a Windows one now. It's a lot more heavy duty, obviously, like a lot more storage, more RAM, all of that. But all of that has come with like larger size. Like this one is I think 2.3 kgs, a lot heavier, a lot like thicker, all of that. And here I need to actually use
Physically
like,
hold
maybe,
the
like,
keyboard down
yeah,
and
yeah.
then pull it up.
I need to
Yeah,
like use my left
exactly.
hand to actually hold
Same.
the keyboard and then take my right hand and use the groove to open it up, because otherwise if I try with one, first of all it might not even come apart, right, like from the keyboard.
Yeah.
And even if it does, my entire keyboard's gonna go up with it and then my laptop
gonna
might
fall,
just, like,
yeah.
fall back. Yeah, so
Exactly,
it's a very
and
subtle
these are
difference
all-
that you don't actually think about until you actually don't have. Like I never
Actually
thought
don't
about
have that,
the
but-
one finger thing, and now I'm
Yeah.
on this laptop and like when I tried opening, the first thing I thought about was I can't open
With
this
the
with
one finger thing, it's a
Yeah.
convenience thing, it's the small little
Right.
things that Apple does and spends money on. The hinge,
Again,
the
this
laptop
is
hinge.
this is great design
Uh,
being transparent.
Exactly. You never notice it happen. One of the earliest examples of Apple design was that back in the day when you used to buy, I don't know, like a phone or some piece of tech that had batteries in it, whether there was a removable battery or not, they would always come in the box uncharged. You had to take it out and charge it for 3 hours before using
Yeah.
it. Apple was the first company which decided to charge its products and then put it in the box. So whenever you opened an Apple box, there was
Right.
always the device was always charged and ready to use. So when you
Yeah.
go to a store all excited and stuff and you come back with your brand new iPod or iPhone or MacBook, you don't have to wait for another 3, 4, 5 hours for it to charge. You can simply open the box and ready to go. And you can start using it and start enjoying all the Apple magic.
Yeah.
And that's another example of deliberate design. Today you see any piece of tech that you buy will always be charged in the box.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
doesn't
all
matter what
part
it
of
is,
the
it's like
customer experience.
phone,
Yeah.
watch, Kindle, anything that runs on like
Everything will always
battery,
come
it
charged.
will come pre-charged, at least like 60%ish. Like it
Yeah,
will,
70%
most charged.
easily.
and this is design being like, this is an example of design not
Being transparent.
about not being transparent, and also not being about aesthetics. So here it has nothing to do with how anything looks. It's just functionality and design.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Even the, like, talking about unboxing experience, right? Even the Apple boxes, if you ever unbox an iPhone, there is a certain speed and a certain acceleration that the box opens at. And you can't change that. No matter what you do, how hard you pull, it's always going to open like that. And the way it opens is that you keep lifting the lid up, and the box gently slides out. Now that may seem like a random thing. Who cares about the box? It's a cardboard box. It doesn't really matter. But that is again specially engineered by Apple and tested. All those boxes in a factory are tested by robots multiple times to make sure they open that exact same way every single time. And it's just to give you that beautiful, smooth, slow, almost suspenseful unboxing experience when you open a new Apple product. And it's so crazy to think of a robot that specifically makes cardboard boxes and then tests it out But again, that's the Apple thing. That's the design thing, which elevates the brand and creates almost aura around it. Yeah, exactly. This is aura around it, makes that experience that people want more of and they want to come back to.
There's more like there's other like tiny details, right? If you can use any Apple device, like whether it's a phone or it's a laptop, whether you're using iOS, Mac OS, whatever. You always look at like the icons, right? Look at like your app icons. They're always like rounded. They're always very soft and very like aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Okay, like and that's something that's one of the more like visible changes, like differences between like maybe like using a Mac or using like Windows laptop, right? When you're using a Mac, sure, you have like the default wallpapers, which are again super nice. You have like shot probably an iPhone shot in 4K, just landscape, natural scenes out of that. Those are very nice. But if you look at the folder icon on a Mac, right? You have the blue folder icon, and has like those curved edges. It's like this light blue color that's like really like visually appealing, right? Like it looks good. Like it looks like non-threatening. It looks easy on the eye. And you can in the font is really nice. You click on the folder once, the way it pops up is nice. It doesn't just appear, right? If you click on Windows right now, right? And the window it has sharp edges and the window just like opens up in front of you. I click on my file explorer and it just opened. If you look at the Mac, like it starts off really small and like it zooms in to fill your whole screen from there. Right?
Yeah,
again,
I'm on a Windows computer right now, and even the windows, like the windows of the applications themselves, are very very sharp edges. The X, the square, the minus, all very straight lines. It's not very aesthetic.
Yeah, like the minimize and the windows and the close window button at the top right, like all these huge squares that occupy that entire like space over there. And on the Mac you have these three tiny dots. There's one like green circle, there's one yellow circle, one red circle. That just like part of the window on the top left. Very soft. It's a very nice part of it. That's like these like small details that make things like look very different.
Even the software updates for Apple, you will never see Apple do like a major software overhaul. Like what's considered major for Apple software is not what's major in the software world. All Apple updates are always evolutionary rather than revolutionary. It's always they add small things based on what you already know, and because of that, users are always very familiar with the operating system. No matter which version of iOS I go to, I'll always know what's going on. Some stuff that's new, little things that are different, but the base of it is always the same throughout. And because of that, that creates familiarity. Like we said, repetition almost, right? It creates user habit, and the habit's very hard to break. And it keeps people safe because there's no radical change happening around them. There's the same stuff they're used to, just a little bit newer, with a little bit more. And that makes
there's that good
happy.
balance between it's still safe and comfortable. You know how to use it. You know what to do here. It's all like familiar, but also we brought you new features. It's definitely an upgrade. There's a lot of new things, right? They've got a really good balance between the two, and that's why software updates on Mac
and iOS are also different.
I think Windows 11, right? It was coming out. I think Windows 11 they've started with rounded windows. Let me check that out.
I think I saw that as well. Windows 11, for example, which is the next iteration of Windows, is a major overhaul. Like even though the basic functionality is the same. Aesthetically, they have different colors, they have different windows. The start thing is in the center.
They moved the dock to the center. Yeah, exactly.
It's centered in the middle. There are certain different things going on, and I don't know. Maybe it could have been done in a smoother transition. I guess Apple would never do that. Apple would always if they had that as an aim and they wanted to reach there, they would take like 5 different updates to get there. I think, but they would incrementally keep adding small things till eventually it was a completely different software altogether. But they would ease the user into the transition instead of just here we go, new software. It's completely different. Get used to it. But that's enough about Apple. We've talked about Apple for so long. But Apple does design really well. It's a peak design company.
That was the tech representation that we had to add for this episode because it's a Steam podcast. There's still SNT. You can't let that
still a lot of
but no, let's get to like other aspects. Right? We discussed Apple and let's the more tech side of design. Let's look at the more like traditional like aspect of life, right? The more non-technological side. It's like grocery stores, right? Supermarkets. wherever you would go to like get your food, and look at the architecture there. This is so much more subtle than the design that you'd see on like in Apple, because
we're getting to myth busting now.
yeah, I'm going to myth busting because here when we talk about design, we aren't talking about the logo of the the supermarket or the font that they use for the titles. No, we're talking about how they actually designed, like the architecture of it, and how you don't notice any of these things, but they all play a huge role in the way you behave at a grocery store and the amount of money you're making them, right? So those are like some basic things. Now you know that in the UK and in the US you drive on two different sides of the road, right? And like in India we drive like the same way as
on the
in
left.
the UK, which is on the left side of the road.
Yeah.
And in the US and in a lot of other countries they drive on the right, and they've the psychology of this has actually played a part in grocery stores, where when you enter a store, right, if you're used to the UK driving system, right, you will probably want to shop clockwise. And what I mean by this is like if you just visualize a store from like the top view of a store, right? Imagine the bottom left you have an entrance. If you're from the UK, chances are you will want to carry your shopping out in a clockwise direction. So you enter from the bottom left, and then you go straight up. You go right. Yeah, exactly like that. And in the US, it's the opposite. In the US, you do it the other way, counterclockwise. So what studies have actually shown that, for example, in the US, right, grocery stores that have a counterclockwise layout, like where you enter at the bottom right of the store and the checkout is at the bottom left, those stores actually make more of profit because their customers can shop the way they want to, where they enter from the bottom right, go all the way across the store in a counterclockwise direction, leave
but you didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until 2 hours ago.
Yeah. Same. That's incredible. Yeah. So basically, they've designed it in a way that maximizes profits, even though that would not, initially occur to you. That like you wouldn't think of changing your layout to get more profit.
Yeah, but it does, and it actually works. Like studies have shown that, like the statistics say that it works. You make more of a profit. People stay in your store longer. But that's not it. There's so much more.
Typically think of a business as, I have product, you have money. I give you product, you give me money. Right. But it's more than that, just the way you deliver the product, how you position them, and the clockwise, counterclockwise thing, that could make a difference on how much product you actually end up selling, which is crazy. But yeah, even with the contents of the aisles and the grocery stores, stuff like milk, eggs, meat, that are the staples that people walk in to buy almost every single time, are often very spread out. So you'd have eggs in the starting of the maze of a grocery store, and you'd have milk like an extreme far end of it, right? And what that does is, because if you've come in for eggs and milk, you want eggs and milk, so they will make you walk a lot more than you would if milk and eggs were together. You have to go from eggs to milk, and on that way they're counting on the fact that there's something cool going on with the marketing. There's some new product that catches your eye, and you end up buying that as well.
Yeah, and then it makes sense if you think about it. Like, you came there just to get milk and eggs, right? And they could put it together, but no, if you put milk on one end of the store, eggs on the other end, you're going to have to walk all the way around, and as you're walking, you're going to pass all these aisles full of things that you didn't originally plan on buying, right? You didn't plan on buying these things, but now you're looking at them, you're thinking, since I'm here, since it's just along the way, I'm not going out of my way to get it, I'm right here. And like, now I know they have this, might as well get it, right? And then they're making you, they're exposing you to a lot more of their content, a lot more of their their products, so that that you end up buying a lot more, you end up spending a lot more. That's what they actually care about. They actually end up spending a lot more.
It actually works,
Then you
it works.
It works.
That's why they do it.
Like, even if you think about your experience in a supermarket, right? Even if you come with like a grocery list, right? You come thinking, okay, I'm going to buy this, this, and this. You're walking around, you see something you like. In your head, you go, okay, but why not?
Chips packet on the side.
I like the idea of that. Yeah, why not?
Biscuits.
Right?
Yeah, pick it up.
Yeah, and like at the end of it, you think, okay, I got what I came for. I got what I wanted. But that's not what you wanted. But it's not what you came for. You came for like 2 or 3 specific things. You left with 10. So every time they're making you spend a lot more money.
Don't get scam, guys. Stay woke.
Yeah.
now that you watch the fried circuit, you're aware.
Yeah, and they do that.
Run straight. Close your eyes, put blinders on. Go straight from the milk to the eggs.
Yeah,
get those 2 items and leave.
No peripheral vision. Just go to the end.
No peripheral vision whatsoever.
Yeah. And they do they don't do it like opposite ends of the store. They do a lot of other things. Like they do, they put the most like profitable, not even not the most profitable, just the most sold items, right? The ones that people buy the most. They put them in like the centers of aisles. So that while you're going there, while you're going to the center to pick it up, you're passing at least like half an aisle full of products that you didn't plan on buying, right?
Yeah, but
Another
now
thing,
you
like
kind of want them.
yeah, or like cereals, for example, right? Like when you're looking at cereals on an aisle, so you have like 4 different shelves of cereals. They put the most profitable ones at eye level, so you're looking right at it and thinking, "Oh, you know what? I could get this one." And then the shelf below that, right, which is actually where your child's eye level would be. That's where they put the more sugary cereals, right? The ones your child would like pester you to buy.
Yeah,
because those ones are also like
and
profitable.
the
So,
kid's
like,
throwing a tantrum to get the new sugary cereal now.
yeah, so like if you go to a grocery store, you might notice, right, in the four like in the cereal section with the 4 shelves, the second shelf from the bottom, that's the kids one. That's where you'll find like the Chocos and the Fruity Loops and the super sugary cereals. The second one from the top, which is like where your eye level will probably be, there you'll find like the normal like Kellogg's cornflakes, right? The ones
the
that
muesli.
they are like this is refined and all. It's still unhealthy and like refined, but like the just the general ones are really profitable. And then maybe at the top and bottom you'll find like the whole wheat stuff, the organic stuff, the stuff that isn't like as profitable,
As attractive
right?
to
The
them,
one that they don't want you to actually
that
get.
won't
And
be at
like,
eye level. That won't be anyone's eye level.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
need to really want to come over there for it for
Exactly.
you to buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically supermarkets and grocery stores. Yeah, you never knew, did you? Stay woke, guys. Stay woke.
Now you know.
Trying to get you to spend
Now
more
you
money.
know.
Now you know. Now you know. The fried circuit. We are essentially helping people save money now. We are
Yeah.
the reason that you have more cash money with you.
Yeah. We helped you avoid scams with cryptocurrency. We helped you not donate to like Star Citizen. We told you
we
about,
helped you
like, card design.
not follow AI as a buzzword around the internet.
Yeah,
and now
we
we're
helped
helping
you not
save
fall
money
for
at the
the
grocery
AI
store.
scams, and now you're saving money in the grocery store. And we're doing
But
it
you know
for
what?
free.
What if you wanted to save even more money? What other place eats up money like no other way? What place takes in
I don't
billions of
know.
dollars of
Let's
profit
see.
every day?
Yeah, where do millions of dollars just like change hands every second?
Yeah.
I feel like a casino would be a good guess.
Ooh, where do you come up with that from? Casino.
Completely unresearched off the top of my head.
Off the top of my head, which is so smart.
Yeah, but no, if
Yeah,
you think about casinos, right?
The
Casinos are
house
just built
always
about,
wins. Don't get
Yeah.
scammed.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go there thinking you're gonna make like $2 million in half an hour and just walk out and retire.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
That's
right?
not gonna happen.
They're gonna, even if you make 2 million, you're gonna make 2 million after going maybe 10 million in debt and giving them 8. Right? That's what's gonna happen. Because
Yeah, it's tragic.
Just,
See,
like,
the
casinos are
reason
just
the house
like-
always wins, and
Yeah.
the reason is design. It's
Right,
all
yeah.
about design.
yeah, and like you think about casinos, right? They're just built around money, right? And it's built around money, and like a business that's built around money will focus
Yeah.
on maximizing those profits, and they're the ones who are actually gonna utilize design to the most, because like they're the ones who care about the money the most. They're the ones who are most
it's all,
greedy about
it's all
money.
subtle.
They're gonna utilize all of this,
subconscious
right?
stuff they do.
Yeah. Like if you
for-
thought the grocery store stuff was a lot, this is way more.
This
like
is over the top. This is that
Yeah.
turned up. Like, this is that on steroids. So basically, I don't know. What happens at a casino? What happens? What do they do? What are all these evil
They do a lot of
practices
things.
to,
Like,
to
first you-
take your money?
Okay, yeah. I think about a casino experience, right? You walk in. What's the
Yeah.
first like you walk in from like outside. You're walking like
I've
the
never been
sun
to a
is shining.
casino, but sure.
I have never either. This is based on what
Based
I've
on
read
movies.
and
It's
watching
based on movies,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, but like if you
Las
imagine
Vegas.
it, right? Even if you know what
Yeah.
casinos are like based on movies or whatever, you can imagine you're just walking outside on the sidewalk.
It's all
there's-
gold,
The sun is shining.
glitzy.
Everything's nice. Yeah, everything's all
Yeah.
nice and like quiet, peaceful. Maybe there's some traffic noise, but apart from that, not much. And then you enter the casino, and like immediately, like everything just hits you at once. It's like sensory overload. There's like bright colors, these flashing lights, loud music. It's people talking, people like
Yeah, get
excited
you hyped.
about like winning money, losing money. People either like either like they're really happy about it, they're
Yeah.
really angry. It's people walking around with food, and there's like money everywhere, and it's just like the whole
The
environment just
environment
takes you
is
by
almost
surprise.
intoxicating. You know, you
Yeah.
feel the vibe, and you're like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. I wanna
Yeah, it just makes you want to like blindly
gamble
participate.
today.
You want to just go and be like, you know, I'm gonna participate in this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna spend all this money here, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing
Yeah.
that hits you. It hits you like immediately because you're going. It's such a sharp transition from like whatever
You know,
was happening
casinos
outside.
have fake winners. Like again, it's just complete like what's it called? Deviation. It's a separate topic, but again, part of the environment. Casinos often hire people who come over there with determined cards and predetermined odds, and it's almost a rigged game where casinos make them win. You know, where they'll win like a bunch of money and be like, yes, I won. I'll scream loudly, tell everyone they won, right?
Yeah,
and that's
they
basically
sort of instills that hope in other people.
Exactly.
That they can also win money.
Exactly.
You know, that's possible.
So people
like
see
it's
that.
not just
People see that
losing.
guy taking like $2 million in chips from the table and with big winnings, and they're like, "Wow! I mean, if he wins, surely I can win too. Maybe the game wasn't rigged against
me." It's sort of what like influencers do with giveaways, like donate $5 to my Patreon, and the winner will win $100 gift card, and then the winner happens to be like their cousin or someone.
their cousin or someone, exactly. That the person has not actually won the money. It's the casino giving the same money to itself and then taking it back. But yeah, they do that. They create this whole environment which makes you want to gamble, and go beyond whatever you even plan to gamble. But that's not it. You know, it goes further. What's next with?
Yeah, so you walk in and there's a sensory overload. Everything is hitting you at once, and you start gambling. But the thing is, they don't want you to start gambling because, like, yes, you can start gambling, you can spend money. They want you to stay there and just keep spending money and just not leave, right? And to do this, they do a few different things. One is they don't have any clocks. Right? Sure, if you have a watch, that's good for you. Casinos don't have any clocks, so they make sure that at no point during your game will you look up and look at the clock and go, okay, it's 6:30. I need to leave an hour ago. I need to go now, right?
Yeah.
No clocks. Also, no windows. Casinos don't have windows because if you enter, exactly. If you walk in at 2 p.m., right, when the sun is shining. When it's like 6 p.m. the sun is setting, like you will know if there's a wind. Like if there are windows, you will know that okay, fine, it's time to leave. It's getting late.
Yeah.
They have no windows, so there's no source of natural light except for the entrance, and that basically like it lets you believe that time isn't running out. Time is just there.
Yeah,
I mean, stay here as long as I want.
Basically lose track of time. You don't know how the sun's going, what time of day it is, whether it's day, night, whatever it is. There's no clocks, so you have no idea, how much time you spent over there. It's almost like being in a trance.
Even the entrance to the casino is obviously they make it like really like heavily tinted. So
very heavy doors, almost opaque.
Exactly.
They don't open all the time. Yeah, definitely.
Like once you're inside, like the entire outside world is shut out. It's just you in that casino.
It's you in the casino and the poker game at the table.
Yeah.
Even the carpets of the casino are horribly designed, which is important because they have vibrant colors that don't match at all, that are so visually distorted and so visually disgusting to look at that you never look at the carpet. That's not design. That's made for purpose. They're not messing around.
I use bad design they want to look at the game. Good design.
Yeah, it's bad design to make you get influenced by their good design to participate in their game.
Right, because you're looking at the carpet and you're thinking, okay, these are very like over the top design. Let's do like contrasting colors that don't like work together. Like they're just like
it's gaudy.
Too much. It's something you don't want to look up. It's too gaudy, and you look up. So you don't want to look at that, and then you look up, and then in front of you it's just table.
You look up, it's the dealer with the
blackjack,
game, or it's the roulette game, and that essentially keeps you focused on the game rather than focused on anything else.
It also helps like hide like spills and stains and stuff. So it lets you like stick to this illusion that the casino is just this perfect place where everything is always fun. You have like food, you have drinks, you have like gambling, like everything is just happening really well. And like to add to this whole perfect fantasy thing, any spills, right? Like you spilling your drink or like you like dropping a plate, breaking a glass, whatever. Like every like again, I've been in a casino. This is just based on movies. This is based on like people's experience. Also based on like people's actual experiences that I've read about.
We researched this, so people.
This is all real. Yeah, but usually you will have like someone come instantly, just let this materialize, clean it up, and go back. And again, it's them letting you believe that this is a perfect place where outside rules don't apply. You break something, the outside world is broken. You need to come clean it up, all of that. In the casino, no, it's fine. You drop something, spill something, everything's fine. You just need to focus on eating, drinking, and having fun by spending money.
Exactly. Even the eating and the drinking, it's very cheap. Like food and and drinks in a casino are extremely cheap, and it's
Yeah.
so that you go over there and spend more, so that you buy like 10 burgers and 15 pizzas because you can, and just keep eating more and more, and that essentially builds on for the casino's food revenue.
Yeah,
Uh,
but like food revenue, right? In casinos, it's not just for the food revenue. It's also because it's so cheap, right? You fill up on the food. You'll drink a lot of alcohol. That alcohol is gonna lead to you making bad decisions, right? You're gonna get drunk.
yeah.
You're gonna gamble more. All of that's gonna happen. And the food is again, it's the whole time thing, right? They want you to lose
Stay there
track
for
of time.
longer.
Yeah. They want you to think, okay, it's hungry. How long has it been since I eaten? And then look and go, oh, I haven't eaten
Yeah,
since
no,
lunch,
you're
and it's now
continuously eating.
midnight. Yeah,
You're
you're
always
eating all the time.
satiated.
Like any need you have is being satisfied in the casino. So at no point do you think I've been here for too long. Something is wrong, right?
Yeah, it's also
Sounds that way.
crazy how they actually use oxygen tanks, and the
Yeah,
air in
they
the
do.
casino has more oxygen than usual because it keeps you awake and refreshed for longer. It makes you think. I'm fresh. I'm not tired at all. I haven't spent any time here again. I just came in. I'm not tired at all, and
Yeah,
that's again part of keeping you there and keeping you
yeah.
going.
Because if you look at
Keeping
if you look at
excited.
the science behind yawns, right? Yawns,
Mhm.
yeah, they are an indicator of like you being sleepy, but it's not just you being sleepy. It's not directly related to that. It's actually more about tiredness due to a lack of oxygen. So a yawn is basically like your body's like emergency like alarm that like takes this huge like intake of oxygen, right?
Yeah.
And that's what a yawn is, and that's how it helps you stay awake longer because you just replenished your oxygen. But in the casino, they make sure that they have like extra oxygen being pumped in, so that you don't actually feel that tiredness, you don't actually feel
Yeah.
that fatigue, that exhaustion, and you feel you're just fine, you're not sleepy at all, you're not yawning, none of that. Like you feel
Yeah.
great, and like you haven't been there
Uh,
too long.
and lastly, and the most important feature of a casino is the fact that, have you ever noticed you never actually use real money? Like you walk in with real
Yeah,
money, you walk out with real money. But when you're
yeah,
gambling, you will use chips, which are
yeah,
designed by the casino, which you have to buy and then trade in for
yeah,
real money. That also is on design. It's because when you have chips, you lose track of real money. If I put a
yeah,
2000 rupee note down on the table, I know
yeah.
it's a 2000 rupee note. But a
Yeah,
chip,
like I know I'm
it feels like
losing,
a
I'm
toy.
gambling 2,000 away.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
I
A
would,
chip's
if I
like
have
a
a chip
toy.
that symbolizes 2,000 rupees, then
It's
you're
like a
like, okay,
game
it's just a chip.
almost, and
Yeah,
that makes you lose track of how much
yeah,
money you're spending and how much money you're
yeah,
losing, how much money you're winning.
yeah,
It gamifies the entire thing,
yeah.
where
Yeah, even like
yeah, it doesn't
casino
feel real
cards,
anymore.
right? Like some like games in the casino, maybe the slot machine, maybe some or other stuff. A lot of casino games actually utilize casino cards. So you load up some money on it, and you keep like
Yeah.
using it, you swiping your card, swiping the card, swiping the card, and at the end it'll print out a ticket with your remaining balance, and that's the only time you actually realize, okay,
Just how much
I've
money
actually
you
spent. Oh,
spent.
it's all right, right, yeah, and
Yeah.
also like the fact that you're putting it on the card makes it seem like you're not actually spending money. Because if I put $50,000 on the card, what I'm seeing is $50,000 is going from my bank account like onto that card, right? So that money is already gone. What I fail to consider is that if I just save the money, I don't spend it recklessly,
You can
I
get it
can
exchanged
transfer it
again.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But you don't
It's
think of
making you
that.
seem. It's making you because it's putting a card in the middle, right? It's putting the card in the middle of like you taking money from your bank account and you spending money on the game.
Yeah.
It's putting the card in the middle. So you're thinking that money is going from this game card. It's not actually going from my bank account, but it actually is. You're losing money because of that.
Exactly, and this is again all on design. It's small subtle things like that make casinos a profitable business. It's the reason why the house always wins.
Yeah,
And it's all design. There's nothing else to it. It's just
yeah.
simply
It's
people
not a
thinking,
fluke. They make sure they always
human
win.
behavior. How do we influence that?
Yeah,
How do we change stuff around? And that's why design is so influential. And that's why design is there everywhere. You look around you, you're gonna find design everywhere.
yeah,
Everything is on purpose. Nothing is an accident. We talked about car shapes and performance in the cars episode, but we want to take this design episode further and show just how everywhere design is just as influential in function, in
yeah.
aesthetics, in business, in technology, everywhere. It's just
Right.
it's all encompassing thing.
And it's so
Uh,
effective. It's so effective. It's not
it's
just
so
these
effective.
tiny changes
Yeah.
that don't really mean much.
Don't
They
go to
they have
casinos,
huge
guys.
outcomes. Yeah,
If you go take a
they've
watch with you,
Yeah. Take a
get
watch with
tired
you.
on
Use
the way,
cash.
do jumping
Use
jacks.
cash as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Set like
But
alarms and stuff every few
yeah, put
every
alarms.
half an hour, whatever.
People generally do put alarms in casinos. It's a very useful, like a life hack kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Be very mindful of how much you're spending, because these places are designed to take your money.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's this
hopefully
episode.
you found that
done.
useful and interesting.
Hardest one yet, but also like very
Also
useful. I feel
very
in
interesting.
terms of
Honestly,
information. Life
I didn't
hacks.
know half this stuff before doing this episode.
Same. Yeah, I don't know a lot of this. But I
Yeah,
do
I
now.
learned so much across
And it's all
this
useful
entire thing.
information, stuff you can use in your day-to-day life.
Yeah,
Like in
yeah.
the
I mean,
grocery
it's
store
also I
one,
think
all
the
of
most
that.
practical episode we've done so far. And
Yeah.
we had lots of examples, case studies going on, and
Yeah.
we really talked about a lot of
Because not
real
not
life things
everyone's
that you
like
would see
that
around you.
fluent with technology, but everyone has these experiences. every
Everyone
day.
knows design. Everyone's experienced or been
Yeah.
I don't know what's the word for
Everyone
it. Has been
everyone
in
goes
touch
to a
with
grocery
design
store.
in
Yeah.
some way. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's the
Yeah,
design
that's it for this
episode.
episode.
Tell us how
Yeah.
you like it.
Yeah,
And
leave a comment. Tell us if these
leave a
tips and
comment,
tricks were
share,
useful.
subscribe, like.
Yeah, always just keep coming back. Tell your friends about it, and yeah, just keep watching.
Yep, and we will
Right?
see you next
Like,
episode.
share, and subscribe. We'll see you next
Peace.
episode. Bye.
Yeah.